Are you a man who feels that the woman that you married is completely different than the woman that you're with today? That perhaps the moment that you got married, ate that wedding cake, and came back from that honeymoon, everything slowly started to go down, especially when it came to sex. Now, I know many men feel this way because many of you have said so in the comment section of my other videos regarding this subject, and you feel like it has been a situation where you've been bait and switched, that your wife bait and switched you, that she never was interested in you, and that she basically just entered into the marriage for your financial resources. So if you're a guy who also feels like maybe you've been potentially bait and switched as well, stick around because this is what we are going to be discussing today. So at the beginning of the relationship, usually sex is really amazing. This is the honeymoon stage and everyone is having a good time. There's frequency, there's desire, there's initiation on her part. And so after a couple years of this, you're thinking this is awesome. And so you decide to move forward with marriage underneath the guise that this level and frequency will continue. And as a logical man, you realize that while the frequency may not completely continue, it might go down a little bit after marriage. That's normal, but you never believe it's going to decrease enough to where it's like a once a month, once every few months, once a year, once a decade kind of situation. Like it doesn't even cross your mind that this could possibly happen. All you know is that you love your wife, but for some reason, her desire just doesn't seem to be there. Now, this leads you down to the road to try to figure out why. What is going on here? Because surely, if you can identify the problem, then you can fix it. But nothing that you do or nothing that you say seems to have any impact on the situation, which then leads you to what you deem to be a logical conclusion, which is that she bait and switched me. Her love for me, her attraction for me, it was all a ruse. It was just all some big preconceived grand master plan that Dr. Evil himself would be proud of. But guys, this is almost impossible. You are giving women far, far too much credit. And let me tell you why. You see, you're making the incorrect assumption that women are logical. We're not logical. Our default operating system is emotion-based. We operate off of emotion and feeling. And we don't use logic except to really validate what we're already feeling. To believe this requires that she would be able to turn off her default operating system that operates on emotion and feeling that is hardwired into us as a female and be able to execute a logical plan over a course of many years. So let's break this down a little bit further. To have this kind of plan, what would be required? First part would be that she has to just even come up with the plan. The second part would be that she would then have to be able to find a man who is financially stable enough that in the future, that when this plan is all done, that she has some kind of potential default financial windfall from it, and that she's sufficiently attracted to, that she's not completely repulsed by, and that he's sufficiently attracted to her, and that she can get him to agree to marry her. The third part would be that she would have to possess enough acting skills that she can keep this ruse up over an extended period of time. The fourth part would require that she would be able to have the mental endurance to execute a multi-year plan. So guys, how many women do you know of that has all those abilities? Because I don't know one woman that does. You see, guys, our brains are really just a big ball of mess most of the time. I always say that as women are like computers and we have 100 different tabs open all at once, and those tabs never ever close. We're just trying to balance everything that needs to get done. We're trying to go to work and go home and get the kids' homework done and try to take them to the sports and to the doctors, trying to get the laundry done and drink our water and get our exercise in. So we're really just trying to get through any given day. We are just trying to emotionally contain ourselves for one day at a time. So if in any one given day, we are just trying to keep our shit together, how do you think we're going to do that over a period of multiple years for a potential prize of half of a very average income? So let's look at this potential prize that the very average woman might get from a very average man's income. It says here the ages 35 to 65. It appears that there's peaks at $65,000. So if I'm hearing your guys' comments right, you're telling me that a woman's going to marry a man she's not really into for a potential prize of half of $65,000. What are we looking at? $32,500. That's the max prize that we might potentially get down the road, and we're going to sacrifice all of our potentiality out on the marketplace for this prize. I don't know about you, but as a woman, that doesn't seem very appealing to me. All I know is if I was a young woman and money was the only thing that was important to me, well, maybe I would just sign up for OnlyFans and bring in far more money. That's to me a much more logic-based plan than to try to marry a man I wasn't really attracted to for some potential payoff down the road. And so, guys, I can kind of get behind the notion of this maybe being far more of a fact in women who are maybe 60 or 70 years old, where they did have to marry into a more security situation. But for the women who are of my age and younger, it really doesn't make sense that this would be their primary plan. So when I'm telling you that women are emotion and feeling based, and that they use logic to justify what they are already feeling inside, this should actually make you feel really good. So that means in the moment of the wedding and everything leading up to the wedding, she justified logically marrying you out of all the men available. She logicked herself into marrying you because she was feeling it. She is using her logic to justify what she's already feeling. And that means in that day, in that relationship leading up to the wedding, that is what she was feeling. She did love you. She did want to be married to you. She did want to have sex with you. Now, what happened to her sex drive since that time is a whole nother discussion. And I went into that in a whole series, which I will reference at the end of the video. It could be one of these things like the honeymoon phase was just over. It could be one of those things that like it's just the normal stress and of living life and trying to survive and just being overwhelmed emotionally and mentally. It could be one of the situations where, you know, she's approaching perimenopause or menopause and her hormones are completely messed up. There's a whole plethora of explanations that can lead to why this situation is occurring. And I'm not saying that there's never on the face of the earth has there ever been a woman who has entered into marriage with nefarious purposes. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the percentage of women who actually are doing that is so small to the fact that I personally don't know any, nor do I know any women who know any. Now, with any problem in a marriage, it's very easy to point your finger at the other person and say, you know what, you're the problem here. But have you ever considered the fact that maybe she feels like she's been bait and switched too? Is that a very real possibility that she feels the same way as you, just in different ways? Maybe you're absolving yourself from the responsibility of even just looking in the mirror and asking the question of how you contributed to this whole situation. Maybe you chose wrong. Maybe you were thinking with the wrong head and you ignored potential red flags, or you were just completely overwhelmed by her beauty that you ignored the fact that there was no substance behind it. Maybe you've dropped the ball in leadership and now her masculinity level in the relationship is higher and she is not able to be feminine and soft and really have that relationship that she wants, and she resents you for it. And so therefore that resentment leads into a dead bedroom situation. And yes, maybe she has been dropping the ball in meeting your core needs of respect, sex, and food, but you've also been dropping the ball in meeting her core needs of love and safety. Maybe you got complacent. Maybe after the wedding, you just started to go on autopilot and cruise control, stop dating her and doing those things that allowed her to feel attracted to you. Now, listen, I'm not here to play the blame game. I never like that. It's not helpful. But what I'm here to do is to tell you that this story that you have created in your mind, that you were bait and switched, and that she entered into the marriage to intentionally defraud you, that she never loved you, is probably just not true. It's a story you've conceived as a way to cope with a very difficult situation. Yes, I know you're hurting. Yes, she very well may be the cause. She very well may be to blame. But until you're willing to stop the blame game and look at yourself in the mirror and figure out how you are contributing to the situation as well, will you have any chance whatsoever of trying to truly fix it. Now, if you're a man in this situation and you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to check out my series about this specific topic, the roadblocks to physical desire. It's underneath the playlist tab. And with that, we are done. Now, go be a better husband today than you were yesterday.